everybody, and welcome to Nerdy 430, the podcast where comedian Tim Keck and I talk about nerdy-ish things for 30-ish minutes. Today, we're talking about one that I'm thrilled to be talking about. I don't know if we're going to get a chance to talk about it on the show. You've seen the title of the episode. You already know what it is. It's Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Tim, what did you think?
What did I think, Kevin? I'd love to hear what you think first. If you could, we started off with your impression of what you think of this movie.
No, I don't want to do that because when we do this, it's just you setting me up so I can come in real hot with the take and talk about what I liked about the movie, and then you can come in and shit all over it.
That's exactly what I'm trying to do, Kevin. I am so envious of your love for this movie. I really wish I loved it. Everyone says they loved it. Everyone was like, this is the best movie I've ever seen. You're throwing out like one of my all-time favorites. And I want to be there, but I couldn't get there. I was checking my watch. It was repetitive at points. If they cut out, and I'm not even joking about this, 45 minutes, you'd have an amazing movie.
Okay,
it's
we're going to get to that.
It's a 2 hour and 20 minute movie. If they trim out 45 minutes, you've got a great time. But it wasn't. It was too long. It was too muddled. It felt like they really wanted an Oscar. That's the kind of the tone I got from this. And maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so, Kevin. I don't know. I wish I loved it as much as you did.
Okay, we'll get to the cuts. We'll get to all that. But first off, in defending what I like about this movie so much, I was texting people immediately after I saw this. Like the credits were still rolling, and I was already telling people how much I enjoyed this movie. I think for me, it's that it hit all of my quadrants. It hit all 4 quadrants for me. And then I recognized that as soon as the credits were rolling, but I didn't even know at that point what the 4 quadrants were. So I've been trying to break down what makes a movie extremely appealing to me.
Each quadrant is 1 hour. So if it breaks the 4 hour mark, Kevin's like all in on this.
Christ.
He's like, good. This is great. This is good. If it repeats itself a bunch, drag it out. You want to stretch it out.
I think you're going to hate the first quadrant that I have here. I think I'm going to lose a lot of people immediately.
Convert me. I'm ready. Asian
people.
The
movie has to be.
Strong disagree from me, God. Kevin. I'm out on this already. Not a fan. JK.
Jesus Christ.
Joking. I love it.
It's gonna sound like a joke now. What I was gonna say is I want the movie to be very colorful. I mean,
my God.
I mean that in a literal sense.
Jesus.
I mean that in I just have noticed about myself that if there's a movie that is very dingy, very gray, if there's a TV show that's just very, I don't know, dark and grim, I don't enjoy it as much. Going back through a lot of movies that are like, well, that wasn't a great movie, but there was something about it I liked. I think the thing about it that I liked is that it was very bright and colorful. So I'm like a 3-year-old in that way. If it's bright moving colors, I'm going to be entertained and I'm going to like it.
I think that's a good quadrant. That's a great quadrant. I agree. It helps to be able to see what's going on in the movie. I think that's okay. Quadrant 1 makes sense. I've got my own quadrants too. I've just got 2, but I'll let you finish your quadrants first.
Oh, I fucking love this. Oh, I can't wait for that. My second quadrant is the movie has to make me laugh, but also make me cry.
Oh, geez. Fuck off.
If
Jimmy Valvano over here.
Oh,
if you laugh, you cry, and you learn something, you had a good day.
Yeah, that's me. You know what? I'll call that the Jimmy V quadrant.
Yeah, the Jimmy V quadrant.
So let's see. Third quadrant.
Third quadrant. We're ready. We're going through Kevin's big quadrants, the big 4. I can see the blank look in your eyes. You've already forgotten your quadrants. See, this is a weak argument that you're defending your quadrants. You don't even remember what they are. You don't remember what you liked about this movie. I think that's the thing. And it's hard because it happened so long ago that you saw this movie. When it started, we were kids. We were just coming up in the scene. The podcast was fresh.
The third quadrant is that I want to feel like the movie covered a lot of ground.
Oh
And
my God.
I'm just opening it up. It's
These
just
are
a
the
fucking
lamest
softball.
quadrants. Fucking pathetic quadrants.
You told me you liked one
Colorful?
of my quadrants.
I want to laugh and cry. That's a pretty sneaky quadrant. You've got 2 different quadrants in one quadrant. With
Would it help if I separated the quadrants?
colorful,
Do you know how much
laughing
fucking
and
cornier it would be?
crying, and then I want it to cover some ground. I want the movie to like do what movies do and like do the thing. No, okay, never mind. I don't mean to shit on your quadrants. Keep going. What's the 4th
Dude,
quadrant?
shit away.
Elaborate on the 3rd quadrant. What do you mean by covering ground?
When I go to a party, if I go to a party
God.
and I make it in the front door and I get in a conversation with someone, even if it's a great conversation, but if I stay there the whole night and I don't explore the rest of the house, see other people, that party feels like a missed opportunity to me. Feels like it could have been better. I like to go to a party. I like to talk to everybody that's there. I like to kind of make my way through all the different rooms of the house. I like to really get a lay of the land. I like that with the movie too. If a movie is set in one tight, confined space the entire time, not necessarily for me. You know, I didn't see 127 hours. I bet that's one of those. Let's see here. Best parts of 10 Cloverfield Lane were when we weren't in the pressure cooker. I'm not a bottle episode guy, I guess.
Right. Hypothetically, if an entire movie took place in one like tax office, that would be a detriment to you.
It's not. I mean, it's something for my personal taste. It's something that the movie would have to overcome.
Yeah.
And I know that like if Breen or Dave are listening to this, they're just fucking retching and vomiting right now because yes,
They love
I get
bottle
it. It's a
episodes.
great opportunity. You get character growth. It's a lot of things that I love, but I personally like to see a lot of stuff play out. I love the amount of ground that this movie covered. I loved how much we saw of all the different multiverses.
And when people hear, so when you're talking about, I want to cover a lot of ground, people might be thinking metaphorically, he wants the story to evolve and unravel a tale. You're talking about like the physical ground that they are covering. You just want a lot of it. You'd like a lot of ground, a lot of physical ground in the movie.
I guess I like world building. I like to see a lot of the world.
There we go. We've got some world building. That's fun. I got to disagree with you. Back to your party point. I strongly disagree. I don't want to talk to everybody at a party. I want to talk to one guy for 2 hours. I want to like laugh. I want to cry like your 2nd quadrant. I want to learn something. And then I want to leave. And I want him to be like, man, that Tim guy was pretty cool. And everyone else at the party to be like, Tim was never here. And then just leave and just be like a figment. And I'll be like, yeah, I was at that party. And then just nobody remembers if I was there or not. And I'm there just to fuck with people because that's the only joy that is brought to me by parties anymore.
Tim, you just described therapy.
That's why me and my therapist only go to parties. She was like, Zoom therapy. I was like, no, there's a bar down the street. Meet me there. It's my friend's birthday. It'll be great.
Okay,
4th quadrant, Kevin. I'm hoping this is the entire podcast.
4th quadrant. If there's action, it's gotta be impressive. I hate a lame ass, boring action scene. There's so many action scenes in these like milquetoast movies that we've talked about on the podcast so far, where it's just like, why did you put this action scene in your movie if you're not going to try to make it interesting? There's so much you can do. I feel like, what are some of the ones where we were completely blown away by the action sequences? In terms of like, I remember Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. One of the things that blew us away was the stakes present in the action sequence. But the choreography in both of those were phenomenal as well. Gunpowder Milkshake had a really weak story overall, in my opinion, but at least the action sequences were pretty damn good. Like the numb arm fight and that kind of stuff. If you're going to put an action scene in a movie, I want to feel like you earned it and you put a lot of thought into it. And I think that happens a lot of the time when the action is there to serve some kind of growth. It's there to further the plot as opposed to just being, okay, we need to see things blowing up or a car chase for the next 5-10 minutes. And I mean, this movie really, really excelled in that. There were so many examples in this film of an action sequence showing us some form of character growth.
and a lot of good action sequences that I hadn't seen before. You know, they open with like a fanny pack fight. I was kind of like, cool, we're like an hour in, like, when are we going to see some fighting? And then, the fanny pack fight, that was cool. Then there's like the whole like people were fighting with dildos. People have like trophies in their butts and they're fighting. I just thought it was so funny and goofy. And the fighting in this was great. I wish we'd gotten more of it, but the fighting was awesome. It was so goofy and fun. And it was great. It was great.
So Tim, I gotta know, what are your 2 quadrants? Hit me.
I've realized I only have 2 quadrants. I've been thinking a lot about this recently because I've been arguing with people about who listen to the podcast, and they're like, you glossed over a bunch of stuff, you know? And I'm often like, you know, the Batman, dumb people are going to think this is good. The Joker, dumb people are going to think it's good. And I realize I'm looking at these things really through just 2 lenses of what I want from a movie. One, which is what I think both of us really enjoy on this podcast, is story. I want good writing. I want a good story. I want good writing. That's number 1 for me. And number 2, actually, I mean, I guess I need both of these. The second quadrant is fun. I just want to have fun at a movie. All I want is good writing and fun. I want to have a good time. And I know this movie's too long. I keep saying it's too long, Kevin. This is the most conflicted I've been about the length of any movie. Like, this is a better edit. This is 45 minutes away from being maybe one of my favorite movies. Like, it's baffling. Like, the length of it is enough to like turn me off from the movie. Like, I enjoyed it a lot, but I don't like being in a movie and thinking like, okay, can you wrap it up? Like, I was kind of at the end of the movie. I was kind of like, okay, it's time. All right. Okay. I get it.
So
I get it. And I couldn't help but do that the whole end of the movie. And that's not a love it movie for me.
Interesting. So for you, you're saying it's like, you know, getting the extra large ice cream sundae. It's like, look, this is delicious, but fuck, there's way too much of this. You should not have given me that extra scoop.
Listen, I'm a cone boy. I love a good cone. And I remember getting a cone one time and I got like the soft serve. And I'm like, really, all I want out of a waffle cone, I'm telling you, ice cream places would crush if they did this. They charge like a little less. All I want is the cone and like enough ice cream to like fill the cone. That's it. I don't want extra. I just want enough so that every single bite is ice cream and cone like together. Wow. Like, that's the best. That's my favorite thing about an ice cream cone. And I think the last time I got one, the dude was like, I got a small, because I'm like, I don't need extra ice cream. And the dude's like, I got you, hooked me up, just fucking poured a gallon of ice cream on top and handed it to me like I was doing him a favor. I'm like, cool. I hope the trash can outside loves ice cream, because I just dropped the top half of it in there. And now I'm enjoying my sweet little cone. Like, I don't need this extra bullshit. I want to get to the good stuff. And dude, I'm telling you, the length thing is agonizing. I've never been this frustrated with a movie's length before, ever. And I had to watch The Joker twice. And this is the hardest because this movie is so cool, Kevin. It's so weird. The fight scenes are so crazy. I don't think I've ever seen a movie like this before. I've seen things like this before. I mean, I made a joke earlier, you know, in our chat today that it's like somebody took a Rick and Morty episode and tried to turn it into like an Oscar bait movie. And it kind of has that vibe where they're like multiverse and you're here and you've got weird fingers and all this stuff. It feels like things that I've seen before. But if I really take a step back, it's like I've never seen it all in a movie this good before. But man, I was checking my watch. I'm sorry. I don't know what I feel bad about it. I feel bad that I was.
So what was the first moment in this movie where you noticed yourself feeling the time?
I mean, I guess I thought there was going to be I think the action started a little late for me. I like kind of wanted action a little sooner, and they really took their time getting to the action. And then I think the moments that stood out to me was they had these cutaways that were very funny with like hot dog fingers, with the raccoon Ratatouille joke. And they kept going back to them. And about like the third or fourth time they went back to Ratatouille World, I was like, I don't need to see Ratatouille World anymore. I don't need to see it. And it sucks because it's like, when I'm like, they need to cut out 45 minutes, it's like that would have saved them like $30 million, because they are like this movie looks incredible. It's so fast. Like they're cutting to like a million different scenes. The makeup's crazy. They're like doing so much in that time, but so much of it is like repetitive and unnecessary. And the raccoon world was cool. It looked cool. They had a whole different set. They had different actors. They had this animatronic raccoon. They had a whole story there. And it's like, we needed half of that, if that, it's a joke. Just give us the joke. We don't need to keep going back to it. There were so many things like that where they just kept going back to the fingers. I didn't want to see Jamie Lee Curtis like with hot dog fingers. I don't care. Like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it it was like 10 minutes of the movie was hot dog fingers. Like 10 minutes of the movie was the raccoon. Like, it's crazy. Maybe not actually that long, but it felt like that long. I don't know. But it was cool. But if it's less, it's more, Kevin. I can't emphasize enough. That raccoon thing made me laugh so hard. And then I saw it 8 more times. Like, I don't know what to do with that. I feel like I'm going crazy.
That's interesting. My next question for you is what you were going to cut. Thinking about that, before you said that, I didn't realize that they really did wrap up all of the threads that they opened up. We got like a full closure ending on each and every single one of those variations.
Multiple times. They have the story like kind of ends multiple times where she's having these conversations with her kid, and it seems like they resolve everything, but then like, oh, they didn't actually resolve anything, and then actually they did resolve everything, and then actually they did. And like the conversation I thought was like in itself kind of repetitive. And then like the raccoon thing, like Jamie Lee Curtis leaves and then she comes back and then they dance and they put their fingers in each other's mouths. And it's just like so much, like there was so much. And I don't know if I left the movie with like a philosophy. Maybe I did. Did you leave the like, what do you think the thesis statement of the movie is?
It's interesting that you say that, because my big thing that appealed to me about this movie is that of all of the multiverse things I have read in comics, of all of the multiverse movies I've seen so far, when we're at the beginning of the multiverse revolution, this is the first one I've really seen where I feel like it had the strong moral of when you were confronted with everything. It's a philosophical thing I've talked to my friend Danny about. When you're confronted with everything, the immediate impulse is, and I think this is like a Nietzsche thing, to feel that everything is hopeless. It's the everything bagel. She completely gives up. She becomes a villain because nothing has meaning. And when you emerge from that, the other side of it is everything matters. Whatever you decide matters. So you're able to take these things in your life and take a look at your life and accept where you are and live that life fully, and accept like, this is my life. I love these circumstances. I love this hand that I've been dealt. Let's work with it. I think that's powerful. That's what I took from this movie overall, is just the idea of like, look, none of this is perfect. Yes, if you'd done this differently, this would have happened. If a chimpanzee with hot dog fingers had killed the more humanoid chimpanzee, then we would all have hot dog fingers. Yes, that old Italian saying, if my grandmother had wheels, she would have been a bike. Yeah. Wonderful. But
if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, those are not your circumstances. So what you need to do is take the circumstance that you have and work with that. Play the cards you're dealt. Even in like Spider-Man, it's like, I don't know that the takeaway of the multiverse stuff in Spider-Man was play the cards you're dealt. I loved Spider-Man No Way Home. I think the moral of that movie was maybe more along the lines of like, Aunt May died for a reason because our aunts or our uncles died too. Like, I don't know what he got from the other Peters outside of more like self-assurance that across all these different multiverses, he was still fundamentally the same Peter Parker. Whereas in this movie, she saw that across the different multiverses, she was pretty different. Like life was pretty radically different for her.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with your what you're saying. I think that like that point is like the closest to like a thesis from the movie is like, I love this argument. I think about this all the time. It's like everything that the grass is always greener, because there's a multiverse where I'm like a movie star. But like also in that universe, there's downsides too. Like everything's good, everything's bad, nothing's 100% happy. Everyone on the other side of the fence thinks the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. You know, like it's all that and nothing matters and then everything matters, right? Like whatever. I do get that. I do like that. I do appreciate that. I'm not really sure. I guess I wasn't really sure how that resolved the conflict with the daughter. Like somehow she got that across to her daughter. I don't know. I don't know. I don't really know how that message got across. But like to the Spider-Man point, again, we've been arguing with people about this all day, is like all these multiverses. I get that maybe this is, again, it feels more Rick and Morty to me, right? Because like, I don't know if you've watched a lot of Rick and Morty, but there's like multiple universes, there's infinite Ricks, and there's all this like, you know, nothing matters. Like his family all dies. He goes to another universe and starts living with that family. Like it's all just like redundant. Nothing matters. So what matters? It's like kind of the same kind of message. So I feel like I've seen this kind of thing before. And in Spider-Man, people are like, oh, the multiverse stuff is bullshit. It doesn't matter. But like the character is directly learning and being affected by the multiverse. He is getting like older mentors who are coming in, literally saving his life, preventing him from going down a dark path, and teaching him how to be the best person he can be. So like, I don't know. I get there's way more fan service in that. They are learning something from that, but like, I don't know. I'm not convinced this is like the best multiverse thing I've ever seen either. I'm also tired. I don't need more multiverse. I'm done. I don't need any more.
Just in time for DC. Doctor Strange, I'll be done. Yeah. I think
even
Doctor Strange will be a nice cap.
I don't know. It seems like Doctor Strange, I think initially was supposed to come out before Spider-Man, in which case Spider-Man is probably a little more grounded or like a little more like not all magical, but like, I don't know. I don't need any more multiverse stuff. You know, we even got it in a cartoon. We're going to go see Doctor Strange. I'm excited about Doctor Strange. They did a cartoon where they showed a multiverse Doctor Strange and what he did and how that backfired on him. So like, then we're just going to watch the live action of like a cartoon that they did. Like, I don't need any more of this stuff. It's like in the 90s when like 8 rappers wrote songs about lollipops. Like, come on guys, like leave the house, buy a different candy bar, like anything. There's like more stuff out there.
I think that the appeal of this one specifically, getting back to what you're talking about, is that in Spider-Man, he was affected by the multiverse. He learned a lesson that resonated with him. But I don't know that I can take the same lesson that Peter learned and apply it to my life. In this movie, it's a lesson that anybody that watches the movie can take and apply to their own life. Because again, it is the more direct thing of like, for Peter, it's a self-assurance. For Everything Everywhere All at Once, it's more of like, yeah, there's going to be things about your life that are not ideal. But exactly like you mentioned, the grass is always green argument.
There is an overarching philosophy here that I think is deep and empowering. And I get why people are walking away from this movie being like, this is incredible. Never seen anything like this before. But I guess I'm worried I'm too jaded. Kevin, am I going to get excited about a movie? Everyone's so excited about this movie. And I was like, I don't know. I wish I was more excited about this. But they did so many good things. We should talk about some good things. Should we do some beefs and thieves?
Yeah, let's do it. You want to start with beefs or start with thieves?
My biggest beef is the time. Like, that's pretty much my only complaint is like, It gets redundant. It gets repetitive. If they cut 45 minutes and like, I don't know why there's an obsession with long movies. Like there's an art in trimming a movie. Like editing is like a whole thing. Like that's what makes a movie. And it felt very repetitive to me at the time. I don't know. We've already beat it to death, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Where's the beef?
They got Randy Newman to do the music for Raccacoonie, which is incredible. I've listened to the song a few times.
I need to listen.
It made me laugh so hard. I could not believe it. But then they also had Randy Newman voice Raccacoonie. Randy Newman's not known for voicing Pixar characters. Get somebody else. Why is Randy Newman voicing Raccacoonie?
Why not? Who cares? It sounded fine. I got it. We all got the joke.
I mean, sure. It just feels like, I don't know. It feels like we made a recipe the other day where we had to make a bunch of veggie sausage. And we were supposed to separate half of the veggie sausage, set it aside. We continued making a sauce for the pasta. with the stuff that was still in the skillet. And then after it's serving the dish, the instructions told us to top it with more of the veggie sausage. It's like, why the fuck? Why? You want it just some of it's dry and some of it's wet? Why didn't we leave it all in the pan? We dirted another dish. This is that. It's like, look, this is the veggie sausage is delicious. You know, loved having Randy Newman there. It's one of my favorite like little Easter egg things in the movie. I don't know if I can get somebody else. Have anybody else in the cast voice the raccoon.
I've never seen Ratatouille, but is Ratatouille the most referenced like cartoon of all time? Not cartoon's not the right word, but you know, like Disney movie, Pixar. It's got to be the number one joke. It's like Shrek and Ratatouille, and then like everything else is just a movie in comparison, right?
Dude, it's crazy. Lauren and I have been talking about this. I think it might just be because in Shrek's case too, these movies are so incredibly original. Like there's nothing else really like them. They don't fit easily into a pre-existing like genre mold. And the idea at the bottom of Ratatouille is so fucking bizarre. I think it just stuck out. It made it over some hump. It came out in what, like 2006?
I don't know.
That one
I didn't
come
see
out
it
when you were in high school.
But I feel like it's been around my whole life. I feel like they've been making Ratatouille jokes for decades.
Wild, dude. Just insane that movie's still kicking around. Let's get into thieves, though.
Okay.
I want to hear...
I think you're a thief.
What's your thief, Tim?
What are my thieves? I loved the fights, and I loved when they went into a new multiverse, like the Kung Fu multiverse, which I was like waiting for, obviously, because this is the coolest thing, where they see how her life diverged. And then she goes on a path, and then later on she needs like stronger pinkies, and she sees an alternate version where that splits. Like those moments I loved. I wish we'd gotten even more of that, of like just give me new ones. Like we don't need to take the 20 minutes you spent in Fingerland and add that to other alternate realities. And the coolest part was like they're doing all these fight scenes and all this fighting choreography. And then she goes and she's like, my mind is, she was like a hibachi chef. Right, in the raccoon Ratatouille world, she comes back and then she fights like a hibachi. Like she goes and picks up these skills and then brings them back, and then it immediately is utilized in combat. I mean, it's like just like great storytelling through fighting choreography. When you talk about one of your quadrants being action that you've never seen before, I've never quite seen an action scene like this. It reminded me to some extent of like Free Guy or something like that, to like a much looser term, where he's like, okay, I need a weapon. I'm going to like reach out and pull out a lightsaber. I'm going to reach out and pull this shield. It was like a way more original take on that. And it was so good. So fun. I mean, I loved it. I thought that's what the whole movie was going to be. I wish it was more of the movie, but it's definitely my thief. And I loved it. If I rewatch the movie, it's for that.
Oh my God, man. I'm so glad you brought up the pinkies. The pinkies were such a delight. I feel
fun.
like with any superhero property, if you do it right, you should walk out of the theater like, damn, Shang-Chi might be my favorite superhero now, you know? And like with action movies too, I feel like a good action scene, you're walking out of it and you're like, if that was a weapon in a video game, I'd probably take it. So like the rings in Shang-Chi really stood out to us. And like the fanny pack scene at the beginning, it's like, fuck, dude, that's really cool. It's like that creativity of anything can be a weapon if you look at it from the right angle. And holy fuck, the pinkies. Like, what a wonderful one. I got one for you.
I think you're a thief.
The daughter. I think the actress name is Stephanie Hsu. Holy motherfucking shit, was she good. This is like, I looked her up on IMDb. I don't think I've ever seen her in anything. I guess she was in like Marvelous Miss Maisel or something. This was like a star-making turn. This took her from someone that I'd never seen before to someone I consider myself to be a fan. I cannot wait to see what else she does. We've talked before about the like that indelible badass quality. She has it. When she's doing stuff as Jobu Tupaki, it is the coolest fucking shit in the world. Oh my God, she's legit scary. Like that's so hard.
The acting in this is incredible. Like the top three people, like Michelle Yeoh, Stephanie Hsu, and then Ki Hu Hwan as the dad were like amazing. Like that Trinity was incredible. And then you got Jamie Lee Curtis giving us some good minutes off the bench.
Oh my God.
James Hong crushing it every time he's in a scene.
James fucking Hong, dude.
Jenny Slate playing Big Nose. I mean, you got like a lot. You got a deep bench here, you know. And I'm glad you mentioned the daughter. In the first half of the movie, I was like, the dad is incredible. I love this guy. I was kind of like, in the first half of the movie, I was like, the dad's the best actor here. Like, he's insane. He's so good. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, he's just in the fun. I always think of it as like the Barney Stinson role, where you're like Joey on Friends. You're not like driving the plot. You're just like coming in and like you get to do the fun stuff. And he had like the funnest role of like going back and forth and then playing like his like main universe character was like so wimpy and fun, and then they cut to him like smoking a cigarette outside and he's like a complete badass, and then like his character changed more than anyone else's in the movie. Like he was like a completely different person in all of these realities, whereas like even the daughter went from like bratty high schooler to like just badass, but this guy had more fun with the range. So like if you take that aside and you like step back, then it's like, oh, he's not carrying the emotional weight that like Michelle Yeoh is and Stephanie is, and then you're like, they're the only reason I'm still here. Really, it's like they're having these conversations, they're redundant, but they all feel powerful, they all feel impactful. They're great. I mean, the acting in this was top notch. It was incredible. It was so good, so good.
Dude, that scene in the hallway when she first comes in as Jobu Tupaki and is talking to the cop who says like, you can't come in here. And she goes off on the whole tangent about like, can't, or you won't allow me to.
Yeah.
That entire sequence. Holy fuck. I mean, just that's when I knew this is going to be one of my favorite movies.
It was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah. Did you think, is this the best Michelle Yeoh you've seen? I feel like I've seen her in a lot of stuff. Also, I wanted to say the dad was in Goonies and Raiders of the... No, what was it? Temple of Doom. I had no idea he was Short Round. Yeah, that's great. I had no idea. But he was amazing. Michelle Yeoh crushed it. I don't know if I've seen her in anything like this. Like, she was funny. She was smart. I feel like this is like the meatiest acting role she's had. Am I crazy? I don't know what else I've seen her in like that.
Maybe just in more like mainstream Hollywood stuff, because I think it was The Ringer posted an article about her best action roles, and I want to go back through and watch through the entire list. She was in I guess she took over the Police Story franchise from Jackie Chan after like Police Story 2. I want to go back and watch those for sure. I've been meaning to go back and watch a lot of Jackie Chan stuff for a while. Legend of the Drunken Master is so fucking fun. So, and I never saw Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Obviously, that is a classic movie. So I've been told that her scenes in that are some of the best like fight scenes of all time.
I mean, it's great. I mean, I've known her as like fight scenes, and then there's always been obviously like a language barrier where she's doing all these like international films. And I don't know, it was just cool. It was just cool to like watch her cook and like going through all this stuff. I will say there's like I have one more thief. Are we still doing thieves? One last thief I have.
I think you're a thief.
I think this is like specifically like a Chinese family, and they just felt very cool that they were going back and forth from Chinese to English. It felt like very like slice of life for like a very specific demographic. My theater, a lot of Asian people in the theater, and they were laughing at things that I did not think of laughing at first. Like every time the mom was like mean to the daughter, it felt like all the Asian girls were like dying laughing at that. And their white boyfriends were sitting there as confused as I was. Like, this sounds like she's just being mean. Like, but it feels like, but I like that a lot. I love that. I love that this like resonates with people, and it's very cool to like be in a room where like other people are taking away like other things, and you're just looking at something differently. Like, I don't know. It just made me think about representation a lot. And like, I've seen a lot of people in the past like year or two talking about how like Asian Americans are like finally getting their due and finally getting representation. And I mean, as a white dude, you don't think about it. I don't I don't have to think about it because I have the privilege of not worrying about that, and I see myself everywhere. So it's like, I don't know, it's just super cool that that we're seeing representation like that. I love it. And honestly, it's complex, it's interesting, it covers more ground, as Kevin Bauer would say, and it's just great. I love that. I'm down to see that in movies. I'm down. I love going back and forth. I think it's great.
It's great. It resonates with people with specific experiences, but that doesn't like impact our ability to enjoy the movie at all, even though we haven't had that specific experience. It enriches it because we get to, I don't know, see life through somebody else's eyes. It's the dream of cinema, Tim.
Yeah, it's good. Representation matters, and it's makes things more interesting to watch, and it makes people feel seen. It's great. I love it. I mean, we need it. I don't know. You don't think about it, but I specifically saw the male actor, the guy that we're talking about, like, oh, you know what he was in? Those movies were like 30 years ago, and he's been like an actor since then. And I saw the thing with him talking about like how hard it is for him to get work. He got all those jobs as a kid, and he's like, he didn't love acting then. And then he found the passion and was like, I think I actually want to do this as an adult, and didn't realize how hard the industry would be and how there just weren't roles for him out there. And then he gets an opportunity like this where he fucking rocks it, nails it out of the park, and plays like one of the most complex characters I've seen in a movie in a while. And I don't know. I hope we see him in more stuff. I hope we better see Stephanie Sue in more stuff. If we don't see her in anything, then I don't know what the fuck's going on. She's a star. She's a mega star. And yeah, I don't know. I feel bad that we had to wait so long to see these other actors. It's a shame.
Right there with you.
Yeah. Cool. And
Anything
then
else?
should we wrap it up?
Yeah, let's do it.
We're going over, just like this movie, we went a little too long. Thank you so much for listening.
Right now is when the part 2 title card is going to hit. I will concede on that.
God.
When the part 2 title card came up, I had forgotten about the part 1 title card, and I was like, oh no, it can't be halfway through now.
The part 2, man, honestly, when she just like died and it looked like they gave you kind of a fake out, like the movie's over, I was kind of like, cool, this is awesome. Honestly, I get why people are talking about this. Like, how amazing would it be? How insane would it have been if they had this whole movie? We'd already seen, like, because all the best action scenes are in part 1, right? And then part 2, she dies, and then part 2 is kind of just like a lot more talk. So like, if it's over after part 1 and she's just dead on the ground and it's like a to be continued thing, I was like, my mind would have been fucking blown if that happened. And then of course they come back and finish the job they started, much to my chagrin, but it was still good. Still great. Still happy to have them. Love it. Everyone should see this movie if they have the time. Take a day off of work. You'll need it. You got vacation days, time to use them. See everything everywhere all at once.
Oh my God.
All right. Is that it, Kevin? You got anything else?
No, I think that's it. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Go ahead, rate us on iTunes, rate us on Spotify. 5 stars, 5 stars. Shoot us an email. You know we still haven't got any. You hear me talk about it every single week.
I don't know how to check
Ain't nobody
it.
biting. Wait, if you haven't been checking, I would love it if the inbox is just fucking stuffed full.
It's got hundreds. It's a mile long.
Oh, man.
It's crazy. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.